right. That is silky smooth. I like that. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the No Bullshit Roundtable. We're here with episode 3. How's everybody doing today?
Doing well.
Doing absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I'm ready for a pretty awesome stream. Oh, man, Will's camera just went out.
Yeah,
There
it's,
you go.
I don't know, it's broken and I already had a new setup. Like I'm already using the M15 now, like my camera as a webcam, but the battery just died. So I have to use the broken webcam.
Yeah, I tried doing that before too with my Canon, set it up as like a webcam, and there's always some issue with that, unless you have like a special camera, I think.
Mine works good. Mine works perfectly. Like set it up, installed it, worked, but the battery died, which is unfortunate, you know. I thought if you plug it in, it's gonna work via the cable as a power supply, but it does not, so it's a little bit unpractical.
Yeah, it happens. That happens sometimes. Freaking technology. But yeah, guys, I'm excited for this stream because the main topic today is like exposing some toxic dating advice. If you're just joining the stream now, obviously you see the title, you know that's what we're going to talk about. And this is important because really there's a lot of bad information out there. I know we've kind of highlighted that a little bit in previous streams and just the content that we post in as well. But today I want to really focus on just the specific advice that's out there that is actually hurtful to men. People think that it's helpful, but I think in a roundabout way, it can actually harm them and do more harm than good. So we can kind of start. I have a few things written down with just like statements that I've heard. You guys can obviously share yours that you've heard some ones that I didn't mention, but I'll go ahead and start one off, and we'll just kind of go around and give our thoughts on it.
Sweet.
So the first one I wrote down here is one that is pretty popular. I've heard this a lot in the men's space, but she's never actually single. And I've heard that one a lot. I'm sure you guys have as well. So I'll reserve my thoughts for after, but what do you guys think about that phrase or that advice that goes around there where guys say she's never really single. She's just, she's kind of always in limbo.
Well, I start then. Well, she's never single, or the phrase in the Red Pill community is she's never truly off the sexual marketplace. And that refers to her hypergamous nature and the fact that, or the belief in the Red Pill community that every woman is going to monkey branch as soon as they get the chance, which is simply a misunderstanding of hypergamy. That's it, hypergamy. Yes, women are hypergamous by nature. That means she isn't going to settle for less. She isn't going to settle for a man of lower value. But just because she is hypergamous by nature doesn't mean that she's not loyal. Doesn't mean that she immediately monkey branches as soon as there's a better option. So that's where this misconception comes from. They think, okay, women are hypergamous and they monkey branch immediately as soon as they have the possibility, and that's why they're not loyal, so they're never truly off the sexual marketplace.
Yeah, man, it resonates with me, and because I think what the Red Pill fails to sort of acknowledge is that there is more than the primal instincts in a woman. It's the same for men, right? Like, I think there's the statement, she's never truly single, just appeals to, or just builds on the foundation that women are like walk around like fucking monkeys and don't have any morals and any value system, right? And I'm sure there are some women out there who behave like that, equally men as well. And I believe that just builds on a foundation of lack of morals and values, and it just discredits women who have morals and values. So who have their primal brain that is controlled by their, I don't know what the neocortex, right? By their sort of newer brain that's actually can help them keep their primal instincts in check. But I want to add something, which is because I believe most men fail to realize that a woman can naturally be still attracted to other men, but not in a way that she's going to go for them, but more in terms of, how I'm going to frame that. like as much as I have I'm with Sandra, but it doesn't mean that she's the only one I find attractive on this fucking planet. I think that is delusional. I think we have to understand as men that women will always find some other men attractive as well, but it doesn't mean that they will act upon that. How does this resonate with you guys?
You know, the whole topic itself is somewhat new to me because I've just really gotten into the red pill community recently. But I think what's interesting is like, it's never the black or white in anything in life, right? It's never like the extremes, although the extremes go viral, the extremes get a lot of attention, you know? And so what's funny is I think, you know, guys tend to put girls on such an elevated state of maybe like they're perfect, they're saintly, they don't have any of these desires. And here comes the red pill community basically saying, no, women are just animals. And which of course is not true either, but it does, I think, kind of give people a little more perspective on the idea of, well, this is maybe why a woman would cheat on you or whatever. So I think if you get too extreme on the red pill community where it's all women are just mammals that are just trying to bang the most alpha dude they can, that's obviously not true, right? But then on the other end of the spectrum, girls are these saintly beings who, you know, never have a sexual thought, and they're just, you know, they're just there to be princesses or whatever, like we've kind of been told in our own life. Like both of them are wrong, right? So having just kind of that holistic view of this is what's going on physically in a woman's body and biologically, and here's what hypergamy means to her ancestors and how she survived. But then on the other end of the spectrum, she's a real human that actually has real morals and actually thinks, you know, and you can't put them all into one category. So anytime we'll take the extremes on these things, like the red pill community has seemed to have done, from my perspective, I think we kind of lose a little bit of clarity, and we lose a little bit of faith in humanity. And I'm sure a lot of people have been really burnt in that community, which is why they kind of get drawn into that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's an extreme view, and it seems like when you get extreme like that, you start losing touch with reality.
Yeah, you guys bring up really, really good points. I do agree. The one thing I'll say about hypergamy, because I want to add to that as well, is it's not like we're denying that. I mean, that is real. I mean, I do believe women, they will date like the guy that they view as like the best case scenario for her, because everything is come down to, you know, her survivability. That's the reason that even exists. Like, she wants to go for the guy that provides the most resources, can help, you know, protect her, for her kids, provide for her and for her family as well. So it makes sense, like from a scientific perspective. But to say that, okay, so like think of it this way too. I don't think a lot of guys break it down in this sense. She's doing this, but she also has that emotional attachment to you. Let's say, for example, she views you as that guy. If you're that dude to her, why would she look elsewhere? I mean, you think about it like logically. If she has that attachment to you and she sees you as that high value man in her eyes who can protect and provide for the family, well, why would she want to put herself in an emotional, or not emotional, but a risk to try to look for another guy who she doesn't share an emotional connection with, just for the potential to have him be that guy for her, but she already has that with you. So it's like, even from a woman's perspective, it's like kind of goes against her nature to want to feel safe and secure, because that's a risk if she was to potentially, oh, what's that hot guy doing down at the beach? Like, what's he all about? She doesn't even know him. So it's kind of like it would probably go against what she naturally wants to do anyway. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Unless she's mentally fucked. Like, I like, quite honestly, like, if you have, I think what the Fresh and Fit podcast and the kind of red pill guys are great at is taking the extremes and then making them look like they are the average human being. They act like the average human being. And I think it was Joey who said that as well. Like, if she has severe issues, then like lack of morals like lack of masculine role models in her life, daddy wound, whatever, then I guess hypergamy, like she will not be able to control that, and then she's gonna like behave on her primal instincts. But then the question is, would you want to be with that kind of woman in the first place? And if yes, then what does it say about you, right?
That's true.
Yeah, good point.
What do you guys think about, to add to that? Because I've heard this kind of tied to this same statement of like women are never really single. They're always kind of like exercising their options. That's when I hear some creators talk about like the social media. So they tell girls, hey, don't have a social media, like delete it right now. Otherwise, like, they won't be with them or something like that. I've heard guys say where they want girls to delete their Instagram or whatever, because in their opinion, when they're on social media, I've heard Rollo Tomasi say this, like it's like free advertising, where they're just like, oh well, they're always marketing themselves, so that's a red flag right there. And I don't really view it like that unless it's something egregious, where she's literally posting thirst traps every single day. What do you guys think about that in terms of women having social media and advertising themselves to the world?
Gene and I already can't hold us back, right? Well, the moment you said Rollo Tomasi, it's all clear. Everything can be taken to extremes, right? First of all, can I expect as a man? It's the same with expecting a virgin. Maybe you also have notes in this down, expecting a virgin, but having a notch count yourself as a man that is higher as the amount of windows in the Empire State's building, right? That's ridiculous. That's not realistic. So now, can you expect you as a man having social media to not, like, to your girlfriend not have social media? I am a big fan of controlling social media in a sense to not post thirst traps for both, right? For men and for women. That, of course, no revealing pictures, no booty pictures, all that type of stuff. That's nothing for social media, right? But again, deleting it is taking it to the extremes.
Like Rollo Tomasi, the ultimate chat. I think sometimes it's also worth looking at the source, where the information is coming from. I mean, while I think Rollo Tomasi has, I'm focusing on him as a creator rather than the question. So I'm going a bit off tangent here, but if you look at him, like, while some of the stuff, I'm grateful for having come across some of his work, because it has helped me to sort of get a sort of reality check. But I didn't stay there, because when I started looking into him, I was a bit shocked. I'm not sure if you guys had the same impression, but when I saw his name, and like when I read his book and I saw books and then saw him for the first time, I was like, what the fuck? That doesn't add up. Like he like his voice, his intonation, his body language, his appearance is absolutely incongruent to what I would have expected from a man that is spreading these kind of viewpoints. And to me, I felt like, bro, I'm not sure I want to believe all of this stuff anymore, because he looks like a broken man. His energy is so low, his vibration is so low, and you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But I've done quite a lot of work in terms of like looking into people's body language and their vibration, and 93% is non-verbal, and that is just fucking off with him. So I would always say, like, take his viewpoints with a, what's the saying, grain of salt.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I definitely pick up what you're talking about, Gene, a little bit as I'm studying these guys. And it's kind of cool because I'm on such a fresher level with all this stuff than you guys have been. Because like I said, I've just recently got into it. But some of the things you're saying, those thoughts have passed my mind as well, where he doesn't necessarily look like an alpha or come across as an alpha in any way. But at the same time, some of the info he provides is really, really beneficial in its own way. But anytime I'm trying to control a girl and tell her what she can and can't do, I feel like at that point you're already in a beta mindset, right? Because a true quote alpha is not going to care if you want to go out and post thirst traps. If you want to go out and attract other guys, then maybe you're not the girl for me, right? That's like an alpha's position, right? At the end of the day, and the girl theoretically should be so into you that she's not going to do that on her own. But if you're trying to control it, trying to put it in a box, eventually people get resentful, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, anytime I think you're taking that control route, you're losing track of your purpose. You're losing track of focus, because if you're on your purpose, you don't give a shit if the girl's, you know, posting thirst traps, because maybe that girl's not for you and maybe she's not for your purpose, right? At the end of the day. But if I'm sitting there saying, this is what you can and can't do to be, you know, with me, blah, 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 I think that's a beta position, you know, and trying to tell them, because a girl who really falls in love with you is going to basically follow you, and she's not going to care about the other guy. She's going to turn off that part of her brain on some level. And I think there is, of course, going to be hypergamy there and stuff. But one of the things that I've seen multiple times throughout my life, and if you guys ever watched Casino with Robert De Niro, you ever
Love
see that
that
one?
movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, oh yeah, that's a great one, right, Tino?
Fantastic.
Well, there's Robert De Niro. He's like the ultimate alpha. He's got tons of resources. He's a multimillionaire. He's like the king of this casino, and he's got this wife that he marries, and she is still in love with her pimp. And her pimp is the biggest loser in the world. He has nothing going for him. He's just a total bum, you know, but she just loves him. And it's almost like a caretaking role. And so from a hypergamy standpoint, she should have left that guy, gone with Robert. She goes kicking and screaming to Robert De Niro, who's got all these resources, everything, but she's still in her mind, still so in love with this pimp that she's ready to give it all away for this guy who's basically a loser, a complete loser. And so it totally goes against the hypergamy theory there, because of course Robert would be the guy that she would connect with. And so I've seen that with women, where once they fall emotionally in love with somebody, they don't have to be just Superman. You know what I mean? They almost become a caretaker in that sense, which is also a beautiful part of women that I think is neglected in the red pill community, is this compassionate, caring, loving side, where they will sometimes take on a man and do things for a man that doesn't have it all together in order to kind of build him up. And it's almost that nurturing side of women that I think is not really seen within that red pill community. But anyway, it's a long tangent to basically say, I agree with you, Gene. And I think anytime you're trying to control and men, anytime we're trying to control a girl, we're basically losing our position as somebody who is truly confident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I'll add to that too. Casino, one of my all-time favorite movies. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's like the perfect analogy. When I remember rewatching that not too long ago, and knowing the things I do now, I'm like, yo, why is Robert De Niro letting this happen to him? Because then you have to think of it from the other side too. I'll always blame the guy. So if you're dating a girl who's like crazy promiscuous, putting her stuff out there, this and that, well, why are you with her in the first place? Like, why do you entertain women like that? Because he was in the movie, if you guys aren't familiar, he was basically giving her all his resources, like all this energy and protection, and she wasn't valuing it at all. She was like Joe was saying, kept going back to her ex-lover, and he kept putting up with it, and eventually he ended up getting screwed over. I won't spoil the movie if you guys want to check it out, but
too late now.
Yeah, I ruined it. But he just keeps giving her all this stuff, and I remember thinking the entire time, it's like, just leave, dude. Like it's not, you don't have to be with her. So I think it comes down to knowing what you value as a man, like knowing what your standards are. I mean, if you see a girl who's like posting thirst traps every day, or she's always in the club with her girlfriends and she's always doing like single girl stuff, well, is that someone you truly want to be serious with? And it comes down to knowing that. And you don't have to be controlling at all. I think the issue is a lot of these guys will promote trying to fix these women. They'll be like, yeah, she's a hoe. I'm going to turn her into a good woman. I'm going to turn her into a high value woman. But it's like, that is probably less likely than just connecting with someone who's already has those values, who has those qualities. I mean, women do this too. Women try to fix guys. They try to make the player into the good guy. You know, it's the same thing both ways. But I think anytime you're trying to do that, it's a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Do you know where that's coming from? Actually, like from men to like from women to men trying to fix them. I do understand that. Like it makes sense from a biological point of view, but the other way around. Like I've done my research. I'm looking into this, see it with some of my clients as well, but I can't get my head around it. Like because from a logical point of view, it doesn't make any sense, but yet they fail to let go. And I'm not sure if you guys have come across something that can explain it other than ego or lack of self-worth, but I can't get my head around it, why they do it.
You mean that a man is trying to fix a woman?
If we look at the extreme example, Will Smith, how the fuck is this guy still with this whatever she is? What's driving him to stay with her? He can't save her anymore. Right. Like what the hell is going on? I can't explain it. I don't understand the logic there.
Yeah.
Lack of self-respect, self-worth.
Yeah.
And thinking that you won't be able to find somebody else.
But yeah, from Will Smith's perspective, I mean, there's nobody more suitable to find other women than, you know, on the earth. I mean, he could, but I think part of it too is that idea of love just going into the part of our brain that's illogical, and it takes over, you know what I mean? Like it's been a while since I've fallen in love, but I know when I have, whatever that means, you know, that emotional state, I literally just don't think logically. Like all logic goes out the window and you get one-itis or all these different things that, and having the perspective of realizing that, okay, this is not really, your thoughts aren't rooted in reality. But somebody like Will Smith, I mean, he's definitely got a hardcore case of one-itis and he's got a bazillion options. I mean, girls probably throw themselves at him way harder than Jada, way more going for him all the time. But for him to just be so morally committed to her, it is very interesting, you know? Yeah, it's illogical is probably the best way to put it, but love or whatever is sometimes completely illogical.
Yeah, I would say from that perspective, I would wonder if that's even really love, to be honest. I think that like at that point it's more, you know, infatuation or just some kind of chemical attachment that they have, or maybe that he has to her, in a sense. Because I think what Manuel said is generally what I was thinking as well. Like he has such a low level of self-worth and a low level of self-image that maybe when he's with her, it gives him some kind of feeling of importance or some feeling of maybe superiority or something, which I don't know how, because she clearly runs that relationship. So I don't know what exactly he gets out of it, but I think it has to do with his low image of himself potentially, or and it's harder now because they had kids, so that throws another wrench into the whole situation as well. So, you know, maybe they're trying to save face for the family, maybe they're trying to save face just for public images too, because they're both in the spotlight. So yeah, it's tough. You got to wonder too about celebrity relationships, because they're not always, you know, they're not always the best shining example of what to do. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers like the social media thing. I mean, I do, you know, those kind of a roundabout way to get there, but I do think that we all typically agree with that. I think if you're dealing with a girl who's not displaying qualities that you want, then you shouldn't be with her. And I think honestly, like if you go into a relationship thinking that, okay, she's this way, I'm going to make her be this kind of good, high character, high value woman, then you're going to end up pretty disappointed. So it's best to just not even get yourself into that situation. I'll throw another one out there that I wrote down here. I got a couple of these. The next one I wish Ryan was here because he loves this one. He always talks about this. She's not yours, it's just your turn. And I've heard this so much. I honestly, I heard this before I even got into the men's space, and like Joe, I'm pretty new to the red pill stuff. I haven't really, my first introduction into this stuff was, I don't know if he'd be considered red pill, but Coach Corey Wayne was like the first guy that introduced me to just this world, and never really had extreme views in any way. I mean, he's more or less the most balanced guy I've seen in this space, but I've heard that phrase so often and for such a long time, and it never really sat well with me. But what do you guys think about that phrase, or maybe the problem with it?
It's the same like she's never truly single. It's basically implanting the insecurity into men's heads that all women cheat, which is maybe another thing you have noted down. So like those are the same thing, differently phrased, right? So you have all women cheat, women are never off the sexual marketplace, and she's not yours, it's only your turn. All those things go back to the same origin, which is all women cheat, all women are never truly single.
Yeah, and there's that saying, to a man with a hammer, everything sort of looks like a nail, which of course means like our whatever tools we have at our dispense, or or whatever resources we have, we tend to treat everything the same. And whatever they've went through, people in that red pill community has definitely altered their perception and their cognitive bias, towards women or towards people in general. And that is one of the most, basically the most like thing that can screw us up the most, is having a hardcore cognitive bias to everybody and saying everybody is like this. This is the way everybody is, which I think, and they'll say, well, we don't believe it's everybody. We just believe it's the majority. I don't even think it's the majority of women like that. I mean, I think there is a portion that they were probably exposed to at a level where they got cheated on multiple times, maybe by multiple women for whatever reason, and they were attracting those type of women. So of course they come across and say these type of things. And same thing goes for women, who all men are trash, all men are just after sex, whatever. Well, what men were you talking about, to during that time? And we take on these cognitive biases based on our limited perception, essentially, for what we've experienced, So I think when you are dealing with certain women, of course that is true, but not all women. Like I know a ton that are good mothers, super loyal, super amazing, and they've been loyal to their man for 30, 40, 50 years, and it's just, and with no reason, because he is not the most hypergamous example here, or alpha example, but they've got a deep sense of loyalty, and they would not leave that guy, barring any abuse, basically, So I don't know. I think that's a pretty extreme statement for them to say that to all women and kind of put it into that category. But
here's something, because I haven't made my mind up yet on this particular topic, specifically because I used to be a bartender in my younger days, from 18 till I don't fucking know when. So like for a couple of years. And what I've observed, I've observed a lot of shocking things there in terms of, I've been part of this game as well, right? But I've seen a lot of marriages, relationships being thrown into the bin, essentially, or down the drain on a Friday night. And it is sort of, that was my red pill reality check I experienced by myself, without having read Rollo Tomassi at that time, or it didn't even fucking exist at that time anyways, that book. But I'm not even sure what fucking point I'm trying to make here, but I wonder if where we're headed with this, though, with the development of the evolution of social media and the sexual liberation of women, and like lust becoming the new virtue rather than a sin. So if we look forward, I'm not sure that the younger generation will experience actually more of this kind of behavior, which is she's never truly yours, because social media is making a lot of people, exposing a lot of people to the extremes. You see where I'm going with this? Like, I think, so I'm not sure if I'm making my point clear, actually.
I think I understand what you're saying. Are you saying basically the culture is becoming to that point where there is so many options and people are becoming so promiscuous or just they're entertaining everybody that's going to be the norm? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So like what's currently is still perceived as an extreme might actually become the norm in the future
Yeah.
if we don't promote or act against it, essentially. So that like Fresh and Fit and whatever the fucking female version of Fresh is like actually creating a culture. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I think that the hookup culture is becoming more and more popular. It's becoming more and more mainstream just because, I mean, if you look at any pop culture movie, TV show, music even, I mean, it kind of promotes the same things. Like they're basically in alignment with, okay, just have fun, you're young, do what you want to do, et cetera, which was even when I was in high school, like that was starting to become like a thing. Like the phrase YOLO started back when I was in high school, which is like you only live once. So we started saying that like idiots back then. But now it's like really kind of becoming the norm, like you said. And I think social media, to kind of tie it to that as well, does add to that. I think it, like, if you see all these beautiful women on social media, all these, all these girls on different Instagrams and all this kind of stuff, it's gonna make you think, damn, the grass might be greener on the other side. I never know if there's gonna be a better option for me. So it does make you wonder, like, where is the boundary? When is enough enough? And is there a way for us to be more disciplined in that regard and truly value what we have and not look for outside other options there? So I think that's it comes down to some restraint. That's why I think like NoFap and semen retention is so important, because it gives you like, it literally creates that discipline in you to where you're not looking at every single girl to just, oh my God, I gotta smash her. Like, a lot of guys are very girl crazy, and I used to be somewhat like that. I'm still kind of weaning myself from that, but NoFap really helps because it gives you that discipline in that sense. So I don't know if that's the all end all be all answer for every guy. It's helped me. I know it's helped a lot of guys as well. I know maybe some of you guys practice it too, but that's my 2 cents on it. What did you guys think?
Absolutely. NoFap and semen retention really helps you to not be so hypersexual anymore, right? Because I noticed this so often, when you speak, especially in the gym, when you're in the gym with a guy and you speak with him and some girl passes by, immediately heads turn, right? And that's the norm.
Yeah.
And I do believe that part of it really is because of porn, because of masturbation, because I was like this myself. And the moment I started going on semen retention, I didn't have this urge anymore. In fact, I came to a point where I almost find this gross, those lime green leggings in the gym and but still a lot of many guys, like, they're still hypersexual. And having a healthy male sexuality, right? We are very sexual. That's totally fine. But what's not fine is turning your head for every woman you see.
Yeah, I grew up in exposed to something brahmachari culture. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's kind of like a Hindu phase where when you grow up, you actually spend most of your time in meditation and utilizing things like semen retention and stuff like that. And it's actually very old culture. It's Vedic, it's thousands of years old. And as men were raised up, you were kind of taught to control your senses. And there's an awesome picture within the Bhagavad Gita, if you guys have ever read Hindu philosophy, but it's basically this guy and he's got all these different horses, and the horses are just going wild. And one of the horses has a tongue on it. One of the horses has genitalia on it. The other horses has the ears on it. And the other horses has like the hands on it. And these are all the senses, right? And the guy is sitting back with the reins of the horses trying to control them. And that's the true self. That's the soul. But the horses are going wild, right? The horses are doing their own thing. And basically what he says is if you're just purely going off of your sensual gratification, the soul or the true self has no power to make a decision. So it's completely reactive. So there's a hot girl, I'm horny, let's bang, right? That's like pure, reaction instantly. But as soon as you're able to control those senses, and controlling them doesn't mean you never utilize them or you don't enjoy them. It just means that you're holding those reins of those horses in a good, controlled manner. Then as a soul, you can actually make better decisions, because again, you don't really have free will if you're only going after what the senses want in that instant. All your free will is basically tossed aside by your genitalia, by your tongue, by whatever. And that's why, for the stuff I promote, it's very disciplined, right? At the end of the day, everything's disciplined. You want to build a business? Disciplined. You want to create the man you want to become? Disciplined. You want to control your body fat and get down to a certain level? Discipline. It all comes down to that. And that's when we actually have free will to make a choice, because we're making the logical choice as opposed to the sensual choice. So I think with semen retention, all those type of things are so good because they teach men to have control over their senses and don't let their senses control them.
That's a good point. I just thought of something when you're saying that. If you guys ever seen, I'm just throwing out a bunch of movies today. The movie Man of Steel reminds me of Superman. Like when he comes to Earth and he's like trying to adjust to the environment, his senses are all out of whack. Like he could hear hundreds of miles away, he could see things super closely, and he's like basically in sensory overload. That's kind of what I think of as like guys who get to that, they see a bunch of women and they just can't control themselves, and they like completely lose their mind because they're just like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. There's girls over here, girls over here. And I want to make this point too. I'm not saying that guys should like completely like put blinders on, like, oh, women, yep, not even gonna look at them, not even gonna pay attention. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you should be intentional. And much like Joe and Manuel and whatever all of us are really saying, I'm very much about intentionality, discipline, and focus. So if you are gonna look at a girl, like it should be controlled. It should be some girl that you genuinely like, yo, that girl seems interesting to me, I'm gonna go talk to her. And it's like maybe one or two. It's not very many. You're not like looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes. It's focused, So like for example, like even I did this recently. I was in the gym and there was this girl who was really attractive and she was walking past me, and I wasn't like searching for her like a lost puppy or anything, but she was right in front of me and I'm like, well, she looks kind of cute, I want to get to know her. And I walked up and said hello. It's very easy, and I wasn't like, there was other girls in there, but I had my focus on her. So it's like that's where I want guys to get to. It's like you shouldn't suppress your sexual desires. Like that's what makes us, I think men. Like we have that energy in us, but just be controlled with it. Like don't be all over the place. Have that focus, and just be disciplined. Because I think if you're too wide with everything, your focus is going to be all over the place.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I've got a friend who she's real attractive and she gets tons of attention. Whenever she goes on a dating app, she'll get like 4,000 likes, that type of level. And she says the biggest thing is guys come up to her and they can't control themselves.
Yeah.
And she's got all the right proportions, giant boobs, tiny waist, blah, 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 pretty face. And as soon as they see her, they'll say something sexual, like right off the bat, which of course turns her off. And she's like, if a guy just came up to me and didn't say something sexual, just started talking to me and actually asked me how my day was, what's going on with me, came across not as a creeper. She's like, I would probably fall in love with them. But she's like, these guys, they just can't. As soon as they see me, that the next thing they want is like a saucy pic, or they want, and she was just going on this tangent about that, where it's very difficult for her to find a guy who is controlled enough that would just go up to her and be like, hey, no pressure, just hope you're having a great day. And as soon as that guy flows into her life with that control, she's instantly attracted, because everybody else is just, oh, I want to see your tits. Oh, I want to see your ass. Let's hang out, blah, blah, blah. And it's just this complete lack of control, and lack of character that these guys are displaying, which is a total turnoff for her. So I think if guys are really wanting to approach beautiful women and to come across in a way that makes those beautiful women like them, having that control and having that sense of, hey, I'm just here to connect, and I'm here to see how you're doing. I'm sexual, you're sexual, but we don't need to take that route right away. And it shows that you're almost higher value in a sense, because you don't need to just instantly jump into that realm, that you do have control. And also, I think a woman will sense that, wow, if this guy's able to control his sexual desires in a good way, he's probably disciplined in other ways. So he's probably a good provider. He's probably got good business ethics. He's probably in shape, and he's going to be in shape his whole life. Whereas if you don't have control over that, you're going to think the opposite. Oh, this guy probably is terrible with money. He's probably going to be fat someday. He's probably got a bunch of addictions, So it all kind of ties in together. Everything affects everything else at the end of the day.
It's a really good point. Do you have anything to add to that, Gene?
I was just preparing mentally a joke. Don't approach it if she has a camera in the gym. I guess you want to end up on the TikTok. But I couldn't find the perfect moment to put that, bringing that joke. So
that's a real thing too. It's like the gym culture with these girls getting, exposing guys at the gym who are like looking at them or trying to approach them. That's a whole other topic too that we could talk about, because it's like that's making guys even more afraid to meet women and to be social, or just to, enjoy themselves. So that's a whole other thing.
Which I believe is a shame, because there are a lot of, as Joey said there, I'm sure there are a lot of women out there who want still to be pursued and approached.
Yeah.
In the right way, in a non-fucking creepy way.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Joey said, approaching them as a human being and see what happens. And that's it. Nothing else.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. I'll give guys a real world example of that. This happened to me probably 3 years ago. Again, before I was even discovered into all this self-improvement stuff. I was at the gym, and it's funny, I meet all these girls at the gym. I mean, honestly, that's the best place, in my opinion, to meet girls is gym, somewhere you're going to be in a high value environment, people working on themselves. I mean, it's a gold mine. But anyway, I was at the gym, and I was getting something to eat afterwards. And I remember this girl was sitting across from me, and she was like absolutely gorgeous. And I was like, holy crap, she's really hot. And again, it comes back to what we were saying before, being controlled. So I wasn't like salivating as I was walking up to her and stuff, but I was like controlled. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be cool. She's really hot, but I'm gonna maintain and control myself here. So I just simply walked up to her. I saw her eating something, so I used my social intelligence. I'm like, hey, I don't want to bother you or anything, but I see you in the gym all the time. What's up? And she said, oh, hey, what's going on? And then I just simply asked politely, like, hey, you mind if I sit down real quick? Like, we can, whatever. And she let me sit down. We had a conversation. Long story short, we ended up having dinner that night and hanging out and just, kicking it and having a good time. So it's simply just being a human being and just being, being civil, being normal, not treating her like she's some like queen of the world and she's this insane angel who came down from heaven. It's like she's a human, she's a female. It's just the only difference is there's a lot of differences, but maybe that was a bad way of putting it.
Bringing the pronouns.
Yeah, we'll get down that damn route too. But yeah, just have some confidence and know that she's not unattainable. Take her off that pedestal and just say something. It's really that simple. Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Like being how do guys practice that besides semen retention, no fap? We mentioned a couple things there. What are some other ways guys can maybe be more, I guess, just disciplined and controlled with their energy like that?
Just real quick before we talk about this, I want to add to what you said, Tino. Also, what many guys do when they get into the red pill, the mistake they made, like you said, okay, you went up there, used your social intelligence, like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't want to be unpleasant or interrupt you because obviously she's eating, right? She's busy, maybe she doesn't want to socialize.
Right.
But then we have the red pill guys, like the super alpha guys, basically trying to treat women like dirt, you know, speaking down to them, trying to establish them as the alpha. That's also a wrong approach. Just wanted to add that.
That's true.
And how can men train to be more disciplined in general, right?
Yeah, like what are just some ways? I know we mentioned like things like going to the gym. Joe mentioned that. You guys mentioned like semen retention, no fap. Yeah, like what are some other ways you recommend?
Yeah, it starts with the small. It can just be the littlest things, I think, and they build on each other. We get that dopamine hit when we clean our room or when we make our bed or whatever it is. And sometimes the smallest disciplines just will translate into the biggest things. But at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to, and what's so funny is, like, I was on a meeting with my coach yesterday and he's like, everybody's looking for the secret of this, or how do I make money, or how do I create a business, or how do I attract women, or how do I get in shape? And he's like, the answer to every single one of these things is discipline. It's like nobody's done anything valuable in this world to not have discipline. So cultivating that, growing that. And I think just the small things to start, because as you get those little disciplines, oh, wow, I did say I was going to work out 5 minutes today and I did it. You get that dopamine hit, you get that dopamine rush, and you begin to feel good about your disciplines, where your disciplines become the high rather than the sense gratification becoming the high, right? So if it's only the sense gratification, the only way you're going to feel good, that's eventually going to wear out, because our senses eventually do get burnt out, right? That's why you can only have so much sex. That's why you can only eat so much good food. That's why you can only watch so much porn without eventually going, I'm sick of this, because our senses are burnt out. Our senses will eventually burn ourselves out. But when you're doing good, when you're actually doing things, cultivating a mission, cultivating a purpose, and having discipline, that never runs out, because every moment you're doing that, you're going to get a new level, a new high, and a new experience of joy as you continue to grow in that manner. So I think just cultivating that mindset is so important. And of course, it's going to be more attractive to the female. It's going to be more attractive to even guys, if that's what you're into. It's going to be more attractive to people in general, because they're going to see, okay, this person's going somewhere, because they're not just being controlled by their instant gratifications. It comes back to the marshmallow theory, with the kids. You guys have, I'm sure, have heard that study where they gave the kid marshmallow, and if he didn't eat it after 5 minutes, he got 2, and it just kept going on. And the kids who were actually able to delay their gratification for more marshmallows in the future turned out to be the most successful people in the future. And the ones who were not able to delay that gratification were not very successful. So at the end of the day, delayed gratification for a higher purpose is our ultimate way of cultivating discipline. And discipline is what gives us everything we want in this world at the end of the day.
It's very true.
Just building on that, like a simple, like it's the small things that actually accumulate, right, in network, as Joey said. And what I always tell my clients is that just, if you want to stop with a task, or like if you're like dreading a task, you're always running away from an emotion, right? So if you procrastinate, or if you let's stay with procrastination. If you procrastinate, you're running away from an emotion, right? Because your entire experience of life is an emotion. So you want to do things because you want to feel something, and you don't want to do things because you don't want to feel something. So I always tell guys, who are you being in that moment when you procrastinate? What emotion are you running away from? And then you develop it, because then you switch your rational thinking on, and then you're like, oh shit, actually, I'm being someone who I don't want to be. And then I always tell them, like, I don't know, like, if you want to get started, I think that's from Atomic Habits, where it says like just do something for 2 minutes. It's actually more difficult to stop doing a task than it was initially getting started. And I use this example of the sauna or like a cold shower. When you want to like, or like Manu, I'm sure in the gym, you just say, okay, I'm going to do one more rep. I'm going to stay in the sauna for 5 more seconds. And I believe that builds up more discipline and resilience to bring the base level up and up. And in no time, you're David Goggins. I'm joking.
Stay hard, everybody. I like that. Yeah, you guys bring up really good points there. Yeah, I think discipline is a matter of just taking it one step at a time. Like Gene was saying, I mean, do one small thing. Cold showers, I mean, I do those every day. And it's just something as simple as doing that and just sticking to it. Because if you can do that in one area, it does bleed into other areas, like going to the gym, being there consistently, working on your nutrition consistently, leveling up your business or whatever you're trying to build. Like that does accumulate into other areas. So if you could do it in one place, you could definitely do it in others. So it's just finding that one thing that you can stick to consistently. I wanted to kind of round this out with the last thing I have here about the toxic advice. That I'll just kind of bring it back to that real quick. I want to see if I could share my screen because I want to play a video to see if we can react to it. I think it's be a cool little experiment here. So let me do that. Share screen. It's easiest with 2 monitors. Okay, let me see if this will work. If it doesn't, we'll just try something else. Okay, let's try this. This might actually work. All right, could you guys hear me? All right, I think it works. Here. Let me go ahead and play this. And I'm not going to play the whole clip, but I want to play the beginning of what he said because I think this kind of ties into what we had. We had a conversation about this in the group not too long ago. So I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it, but let me go ahead and play this real quick.
If you got your together as a guy, right, and your girl knows what type of dude you are, there's nothing wrong every now and then with flirting with a chick that in front of your girl. Yeah, and I know. Oh my God, that's so messed up. Listen, man, your girl needs to always be uncomfortable, right, guys? And I know this might be like for y'all. Oh my God, this is so toxically masculine advice. Blah blah blah. Women only respect what they have to earn and what they have to maintain to keep. Okay, one more time for y'all. Okay. Women only respect and want something that they have to fight, keep, and maintain and or preserve. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll
Absolute pussy.
we'll start there with the just general reactions to that. What do you guys? I know Gene kind of feels a certain way about it.
You know what the problem is with things like that? Say it with a lot of confidence and people will believe you. You know what? That's the problem. Like, show me one woman that has self-worth and self-esteem that is going to respect you as a man if you're in a relationship, if you are demonstrating infidelity or disloyalty in front of her. Show me one woman who will stay with that guy that actually values herself. You know, so that's the problem. And now they're implanting this into men's heads. Obviously, men who are not successful in dating. Obviously, men who are receptive for it and believe it because he says it with confidence. And then they do it, but then they get burnt, or then they may attract those low-quality women, and then they get burnt in the end as well.
That is true. I think my take on that is kind of like close to what Manuel said. I mean, if you're dealing with a girl that needs to feel threatened every time that she's with you, or she needs to feel fear in order to stay with you, I would really reassess the kind of girl you're dealing with, because she seems very, very you know, maybe there's some insecurity there, maybe there's some low level of self-worth on her end that she feels like, oh man, I need to get that adrenaline rush every time in order for me to stay in a relationship with this guy. I would view that as a very toxic situation, a very toxic relationship. If you're constantly feeling like you need to prove to her, hey, I got options, you could be replaced like that. And I understand the concept. Like, you do, like, obviously if other girls want you, that does make you seem more attractive to the woman that you're with. I mean, that's just kind of, you know, general, but I don't think you need to say it. I don't think you need to really show it at all. It's kind of just implied. So I'll throw some additional perspective out there that I think Myron doesn't say. You don't have to go about flirting with a girl in front of your girlfriend to make her know that you're a high value dude. Other women want you. She knows this already. Trust me. Women are very perceptive. So if you're out and about with your girlfriend and you're walking by, trust me, she sees other women looking at you. She sees other girls giving you choosing signals and whatnot, or flirting with you, or saying nice things to you. She sees the waitress giving you eyes. She sees these things. So it's not like you have to go about proving your, you know, your status or your worth or anything like that. If it's there, it's there, and she knows. So it's not like you have to put it in her face. So I just think that's a toxic way to go about having a relationship based on fear. Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Bro is absolutely, like, Myron is absolutely like messed up. Like, I mean, I agree with you. Like, his concepts, there's certain concepts that are true, but just but only because, like, it doesn't mean that the solution to certain concepts is becoming an absolute dickhead. And as Manu also said, like, you might know this kind of behavior will result in two things. Either a woman with self-respect is going to leave you, or you will end up with a woman who's going to do an Amber Heard on you and take a shit on your bed. She's mentally unstable, right? It's like you have those two options. Like, which one do you choose? You're going to end up in both situations. You're going to end up hating your life. So I would rather go for what you suggested, Tina, as the best way moving forward, and not Myron's way.
Yeah. And I guess the problem I have with it too is the idea of, you know, all this comes down to self-love at the end of the day, right? Self-discipline is self-love. You're doing things at the end of the day for yourself because you love yourself. And when people are not in that realm, which probably the majority of the population is not, right? A lot of people don't love themselves. You're essentially playing on their lack of self-love. And it's the same thing people do in, like, cheesy sales like stuff. And I've been in sales my whole life, and I've seen some shady ass sales tactics. And the only way you need to implement shady sales tactics is when you have a shitty product, right? You got to do all these weird things. You got to use all this weird psychology to make them want something that they don't really need at the end of the day. And if you're using shady sales tactics with people, it means you yourself aren't a prize. You yourself aren't confident enough to know, I don't need to do all this shit in order to attract a woman or to keep a woman, because I myself am worth it, right? And so it would be like, you know, we're all sitting around trying to sell crack or something, or cocaine. It's like, here's what we do. We go find the lowest level people that are struggling with themselves. We get them addicted to it, and then we'll make a shit ton of money. You know what I mean? It's like, let's find these people who are already vulnerable, already struggling. Let's play off those struggles so we can make more money, you know, and the money, of course, in this is the female attention. And so it just goes back to, why not just work on yourself? Why not just develop self-love so you don't have to do all this shady crap? And then those things will happen anyway, because the women will notice you more. The people will notice you more. You won't have to do these things in order to play this game to get some crappy sale across to, you know, sell a vacuum for $1,000 or whatever. That's only worth $50. It's just, at the end of the day, it's playing on people's lack of self-love. And I think in my heart and what I want to do, the whole reason I did this at the end of the day was to help people develop that. I'm not here to give people shady tactics so they can play on other people's insecurities in order to control them, you know. And so if that's his intent with that, it's a little shady to me, and it is toxic. I mean, in some sense of the word. So
yeah, I think he even published a book like "Women Deserve Less."
Yeah, that just came out.
What the fuck?
Well, and a funny perspective, you know, and I don't know, I don't want to get too religious or anything, but one thing that I learned from my spirituality growing up was the idea of multiple lives, right? And I don't know where everybody stands on that, and who knows, right? I don't know for sure that that's the case. But what happens if I teach all this shit and then my next life I come back as a woman? You know, like that gives you a little perspective there. You know what I mean? And I come back as a woman, and there are all these men who are red pilling me all day long. You know, I'm going to be a little pissed off. And it's like, so putting myself in other people's positions to kind of look through their eyes and go, is this really right? Am I really doing something that is actually benefiting other people? Because at the end of the day, humanity is one. We are one, you know? So, but yeah, that whole idea just flips me out.
Imagine Myron being reborn as a woman and married to his former marriage.
Exactly.
Absolute karma.
Karma, yeah.
I mean, like, even if you're not reborn, but everything comes back as you put out, you know. And now you just have to ask yourself, right, am I putting out good stuff or bad stuff? And eventually it's going to catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
Good
Because
point.
like those are the dudes then that struggle with false rape claims. Those are the dudes then that have I'm not even sure, Ember, whatever, like the Brad Pitt thing. Those are the dudes that have those types of women. I never struggled with those types of women, for example. Never ever in my life. And it's all, again, you attract what you are.
Yep. Yeah, life is a mirror at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you do have to go to the lengths of being that extreme or being that manipulative, then you probably should just take some time away from dating for a minute and work on yourself and do what you have to do. Because, like, it's like Joe said, I mean, sales and relationships are so funny because they're so similar. And if you generally, like, in sales, like, right, when you're attracting leads and you're getting clients and you're selling your services or your product, if you have a good enough product and you know it in and out and you market yourself well, people are going to want to buy it. And I view the same thing with relationships. If you yourself as a man are valuable enough to where you're very clearly confident, you're clearly giving, you know, you're giving back to humanity, you're a good dude, you're just a high level guy, people are going to know. And women especially are going to know that. So you don't have to go do some crazy manipulative tactic to keep her attracted to you or to attract women. You just have to be that dude, and it'll come across in your communication style, your body language, your mentality, everything. So I don't think you need to do anything crazy. It's like what does that remind me of? There's an analogy with like your man. I can't think of the exact. No movie. Yeah, it's not from a movie. It's from something else. I can't think of it right now, but you're basically like just tricking people at that point. You know, it's kind of like an illusion. You're just like, oh, look at what I can do, blah blah blah, and it's like this manipulation tactic, and it doesn't lead to any good outcomes. I mean, if you want like that's the thing I think guys need to think about too. Like, look at the outcome of that. What kind of relationship does that produce? If you want a screaming match between you and your girlfriend or you and your wife, where you're always constantly at each other's throats, and you're playing manipulative, she's being manipulative, and you're doing it to each other, yeah, by all means, do that kind of stuff because she'll probably do the same thing to you, or it'll come back around, like Manuel and Joe were saying. So yeah, if you want a relationship that's always high emotions and low emotions and constantly like stimulating, then sure, like do that kind of stuff. But if you want a genuinely grounded, loving relationship, then it's not really necessary. But yeah, guys, I think that kind of sums up everything I wrote down. Did you guys have anything else to add, or any points that you heard that you feel are maybe negative advice for guys out there?
No.
If I think a lot about it long enough, I'm sure I can come up with more points.
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
Yeah, like I said, this is
not.
all new to me, you know, a little bit. So it's interesting to see, but I'm glad you guys have the takes you already on, because for me, just diving into the red pill community, all this stuff is kind of new to me. And to hear these concepts, a lot of them, I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought of it like that. So to now have a more balanced approach for me is kind of helpful, because I can see how people buy this hook, line, and sinker right away, you know, and even myself, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, wow, because you know, we just have cognitive biases as human beings, and when we listen to something long enough, we're gonna start to believe certain things, even though they don't make logical sense. And that's just one of our biggest issues in life. You know, like, so I love studying like Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett. Their whole thing is based on making good decisions in life and not developing cognitive biases, not getting emotionally invested in some sort of business and wrecking themselves, you know. So even in these thought systems, how can I listen to this, take what I can from it, because there is a lot of good in it, and leave out all the nonsense. And that's what this group, I think, is doing, is trying to take away some of the nonsense from guys who have bought this thing hook, line, and sinker, to say, hey, yeah, there's some truth there, but don't buy it all. You know, don't take the toxic with the good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have something to say, Gene?
No more jokes. I'm
No more jokes. You look like you were ready to say something.
All good. I'll save it for the next round.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm down to have another conversation about this, or just like an addition to what we were talking about, like the just like the hookup culture in general, and kind of like getting into it. There's a whole rabbit hole that we can go down with different ways to kind of break it down. But yeah, I'm pretty much, I got some spring cleaning and stuff to do the rest of the day and this week. So I'm cool with ending the stream here if you guys are cool with it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It was a great stream, guys.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Definitely.
Appreciate it, guys.
100%. Where can people find you if they want to go dig some more into your content?
Holistic Manhood on all social media channels: Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
Just Insta for me, Gene Gerien. I guess there's a link somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Mental Health Fitness Dad on Instagram.
Nice. Yeah, the links will be down below if you guys want to check them out. You know where my stuff is at. You know, it's all over the place. So if you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. Go check these guys' contents out. And peace. We're going to be getting going and getting the week started. See you guys next time.
Love and peace. Ciao, ciao.
See you guys.